Hey, everybody, welcome back to the AI Files, where we explore the fascinating world of artificial intelligence and its impact on education. Again, I am your host, Corey Gill, but today I'm very happy to host Jonathan, Jonathan Kerrigan of our Faculty of Business and Information Technology. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, Corey. Happy to be here. Super excited.
Fantastic to have you. I get a lot of guests in the podcast this year, but I'll be honest, none have embraced AI quite the way you have, and I think it's really exciting to be able to share your experience with our listeners because I think it's a little more in depth. All right, so let's dig in. All right, let's start easy. Perhaps you can start with your view of AI in education and how you see it transforming what we're doing.
Yeah, that's the easy one, is it? Okay. I think this is an inflection moment. I think that AI it poses tremendous challenges, but more than anything else, transformative opportunities to really address a lot of the big challenges that we've always had with education. To this point, education, the model has been the same thing for well over 100 years. And we know there's challenges. We have students that struggle. We have exceptional students. We have students with special needs and everything in between. But we've never been able to deliver education at scale, one-to-one education at scale effectively. I think AI is going to make that possible. I think it's also going to take what we're already really good at as professors in each of our domains. We all have certain strengths and we all have certain soft spots where we're not as strong. And I think that AI is going to help us kind of mitigate those weak points and amplify the strengths that we have. So I think that it is not only transformative in terms of, oh, this is a really powerful tool. I think it's fundamentally going to force a rethink, a complete rethink of how teaching and learning is done.
I like that. I like how you forcing it too, right? Because a lot of times we grab hold of things, we pull it in. If you think about some of the great technologies and whatnot, the internet, we kind of finally pulled it in. It took a little while, even our business phones and whatnot. But I think AI is almost forcing its way into our world, and we can push back as much as you want. But I think it allows for a lot more innovation than we've ever seen in the past. And so I'm curious as to your ways of using AI to enhance the learning experience to support your role, because that's where the innovation really transforms.
For sure. And one of the challenges and opportunities is that the technology is advancing so quick. So
It is.
when ChatGPT first kind of blasted onto the scene in November of 22, I dove deep. I've been obsessing ever since. And just in that short period of time, like the last 2 and a bit years, how far it's come, like 2.5 years. It went from really not being it was impressive, but made
Absolutely.
a lot of mistakes, was not connected to the internet, could only do text.
Yep.
Now it is incredibly smart. It still makes mistakes, but nowhere near. Like it is essentially the equivalent of the top performer of any corporate team. It's performing as well. But even those top performers, every now and then, need a second set of eyes to make sure that we've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. And
Love
so
that.
not only is it incredibly smart, it's connected to the internet, but it's also multimodal now. It's beyond text, it's audio, it's video, it's graphics, it's photography, it's so much more. And that's in such a short window of time. And so with the technology evolving, how I'm leveraging it and integrating it into my teaching and learning is also an ongoing evolution. And so the first thing is that I'm all in. I have fully adopted it. This isn't something that I dabble in off to the side. As much as my laptop and the internet, it is fully integrated into my everyday workflow. I'm
Love it.
engaging with it from start to finish, from conceptual conceptualization around, okay, this is a problem I'm trying to solve, or this is a new thing that I want to create, or something's just not working and I want to figure out how I can improve it. I'm going to work with AI. I'm going
Right.
to develop that plan. I'm going to develop that strategy. I'm iterating. I'm brainstorming. I'm collaborating with the AI. But then once I have a sense of what I want to do, I'm continuing that collaboration and working with AI to then develop the plan, then develop the content. Then I'm integrating it into the delivery where I am engaging students and they're using it, or it's helping me to deliver an aspect of an activity or the course or some of the learning into that delivery. So from the very beginning of the idea point to the point of delivery and everything in between, it's a fully integrated part of the way I'm working. And so the way I've worked has completely transformed.
That's awesome too, and I love the fact that you talk about its inflection and then the growth and how you've adapted and adopted to it, because that's integral, right? Like, it's continuing to grow, and so I'm going to take two concepts now and bring them together. Because once you bring it in, I always call it as my TA. So we have our assistant in there helping us with everything that we do, and people keep like raising flags about ethical considerations. We have to think about integration into our various components, and then how do we make sure that AI doesn't supplement or replace, let me say it that way, human values and social needs. So how do you feel comfortable doing what you're doing and still knowing that Jonathan the person's coming through instead of AI the bot?
Yeah. Uh, if it makes sense for AI the bot to step in where I used to be, then great, it should. And then I need to reimagine, well, what is my role? And the reality is that AI is becoming increasingly good at many things. And the reality is, and I say this a lot, moving forward now, AI is the subject matter expert across
Absolutely.
every domain. The models that are coming out now in certain topics are already PhD level, and the models that are coming out in the months to come, so literally later this spring and into the summer, it will be PhD level across every topic. So AI is the subject matter expert, but we are the contextual expert. We bring the
Beautiful.
purpose, the intent of what we're trying to achieve. We bring the context of why are we trying to achieve that, the constraints that we're living within that we have to take into consideration, the people we're engaging with and their needs and so on. All of that context we bring. AI is blind to it, doesn't have any of that capability. And so it's really a matter of saying, okay, if I can hand off and delegate task one, two, three, four, and five to AI, right? That doesn't threaten me. That frees me up now to refocus on where the blind spots where AI does not knock it out of the park, and then really center my focus and my value is in that area. And I think that AI is going to get to an amazing point of being able to deliver theory on a one-to-one basis in a very compelling and meaningful way, and sometimes probably better than me. I've used tools like Notebook LM and taken my lecture slides and dropped them in to create a AI podcast summary of my lecture. And I'll sit back, I listen to everyone to do the quality check, and sometimes I'm sitting there listening and going, wow, this is more interesting and more compelling than what my lecture actually was, right? And so if
I
it's going to
agree.
do that job, great, fantastic, it does that job. But what a lot of people don't recognize or give enough emphasis to the fact that it doesn't just do that job, it does the job with my direction, almost like an assistant, where it's like, here's what I need you to do, here's how I need you to do it. I will give it the rules and some instructions around it. I'll give it samples of examples of good work versus bad work and so on. The few first iterations, I will review it and give it feedback to refine and fine tune its work, very much like onboarding a new employee. So now it's almost almost like, hey, the college has given me permission to have an assistant. I'm training that assistant. I'm deciding what tasks I'm going to delegate to that assistant. I'm then monitoring it and giving it feedback so that it gets better at that job. And then that's freeing me up to be much more higher level strategic in terms of the guidance that I'm going to provide. It opens up a whole new world of the art of the possible, because I've been so limited by my own individual capacity that while I wish or I knew I should be doing X, Y, and Z,
Yep.
I don't, because I just don't have the time or the capacity to do so. AI has opened up that world where I can do all of those things now, but I can also spend much more time focusing on the people relationships, both in terms of supporting my students one-on-one, as a group, as well as facilitating much more applied learning where they are engaging with each other, so that my focus is much more on human soft skills, interpersonal collaboration skills, the application of theory skills within the context that they're going to be graduating into. And so I'm happy to delegate whatever tasks make sense, to delegate them to the AI so that I can reimagine the art of the possible of what I'm able to do in the context of this course and my role in achieving those goals.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I'm glad you bring it there, especially the human values, the context, the connections. Um, just a couple nights ago, we were at the annual business gala that we put on, and it was great because one of your students, who obviously you've connected with, because they said, "Hey, Jonathan, what about?" And they mentioned Mary, right? And Mary, as I understand it, is an AI that you have involved in one of your courses. So maybe we can talk about how you've used Mary to foster what you just talked about, while you still keep your collaborative components with the students alive.
Great. So a couple of things. So one, what Mary is essentially a custom GPT that's been trained on the course material, the course learning outcomes, and so on. But it actually started with me developing custom GPTs for each of my courses so that they were trained specialists on that particular topic, on the material, on the course
Awesome.
outline, the learning outcomes, knowing what the assessments are going to be. And then I would use that AI to then redevelop my course outline, to redevelop my assessments, to update all of my course materials, helping me build my slides and helping me build and create activities. And I'm coming up with so much better activities and using that to experiment as well, pushing the boundaries of what can AI actually do. And before I get back to Mary, I'll give you an example. In a course that I teach, a market research course, it's an introduction to the fundamentals of just doing a lot of ethnographic research. So there's a module where they're learning about how to conduct interviews and focus groups and so on. And historically, what we would simply do is to practice, they would pair off and do mock interviews.
Okay.
Not very realistic. So working in collaboration with the custom GPT that I had developed, I actually developed a full case scenario. And then what they had to do was, out of that case scenario, they had to identify what is the business problem that market research or that research is going to help inform. So what's the decision that management is struggling with that research is going to help inform? And the type of reason, so they've had to define the business problem, they had to define the research objective, then they would go through a series of interviews. And what I did was, working with AI, I created a series of starter prompts that essentially would tell the AI that this is a practice activity. You're going to be interviewed by the student. I want you to adopt this persona. And so the prompt would define the persona that they are to adopt and that they were to answer the questions in character. And
Okay.
so I had three of them. So the students were going to essentially interview these three personas. And the AI was instructed they're only allowed to ask 5 questions. So they've got their business problem, they have their research objective, they're going to conduct these interviews. They know they only have 5 questions, so they have to be strategic about the questions they're going
Yep.
to ask.
Yep.
And then when they ask, the AI is responding in character like the customer that they would be trying to learn from.
Right.
And if the students tried to break it, let's say they tried to ask that 6th question, the AI would politely push back and refuse to answer in character. Sorry, I'm late for my yoga class. I have to go now. And it wouldn't
Nice.
answer any more questions. But then after completing those interviews, they had to then analyze what have we learned from the interviews and then make a recommendation back to the business. And so they submitted a transcript of their interview so that I could see what was the business problem? Did they identify it correctly? Did they do the an appropriate research question? Then how did they approach the interviews? What was the data, their analysis, and then they make a recommendation back to the business.
Right.
Much more realistic to the
Yeah. Yeah.
real world of how they're going to use interviewing in market research. So the AI helped me with that. But then I took what I learned in creating the AI and optimizing it to create a second AI that I called Mary
Okay.
for the students. So trained on the material, knows the courses, knows the learning outcomes. So the one that helped me was trained in curriculum development and curriculum design. The Mary was trained to be a learning coach, a guide, a tutor.
Very
So
good.
it knows the material, but it's never going to give them the answers. It's going to guide them. It's going to challenge them. It'll help them with the materials. And it can do so in any language. So if a student misses the class, they can say, hey, can you give me a summary of what I missed in week 2? And it will. Or they can say, can you give that to me in Hindi? And it will. And they
That's
can
incredible.
engage with it where they're having difficulty. So they have one-on-one support 24/7, which they could never get from me. And the students loved it.
Yeah, then that's a perfect kind of opportunity to use technology, right? Because Jonathan needs downtime. Jonathan needs to go to bed. Jonathan needs a break. Jonathan needs dinner. Mary doesn't, right? Mary can be up at
That's
3 in the
right.
morning. It can be there at 2 in the afternoon. Mary doesn't sleep. It's perfect. I love it, and that's exactly where AI kind of fits into our landscape now, right? Creative ways we can use it to augment that value that we have, but doesn't change our connection. So that's awesome. Okay. Um, during being mindful of what we're after too, I want to take something crisp from your experience and say, if you could leave our listeners with one parting thought on AI, what would that be?
uh, I'm always going to cheat and push the boundaries. Say I'll give you two because they're related. Number one is you need to get on board. This is not going away. AI is just going to get smarter, more capable, more integrated into the platforms and tools that we use every day. It's not going away. You cannot detect it. As students get better and AI gets better, we're going to have to adopt and adapt.
Agreed.
And so that is number one. Stop fighting it, get on board, and reimagine where does the human fit? Because AI is absolutely going to take over a lot of tasks. And if you do not change, then, and you're doing the tasks that AI can do, and that's how you define your value in this context, you will be replaced. But if you embrace it and acknowledge where AI can actually do a really good job, let's delegate these tasks to AI and then redefine the teaching and learning experience and how the entire learning experience happens and what's my role in it and how am I going to be engaging in both the overall curriculum design, the experiential design, the delivery, and engaging with students and helping them to achieve those course outcomes, you're going to do great. You will not be replaced. And not only that, but you'll be a part of the redefining that future. And so that wave is coming, and we're either going to be washed away by it, or we're going to adopt and we're going to start to learn and be able to recognize and see what's coming, both the threats and the opportunities, but we'll be equipped to mitigate those threats and we'll be ready to capitalize on those opportunities. And we may not sail that wave riding it like a pro surfer. We'll just be holding on to survive, but you'll be able to ride it out. And so that's the main is just adopt and adapt and really get in there and experiment with the tools and be open to throwing out the status quo and reimagining what it could be, because there's a lot wrong with our current model of education. And I
Right.
think that opportunity not only presents AI not only presents the opportunity to fix those problems, but it's forcing us to rethink the overall education model.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of the wave because so many things have come in waves, and we've learned to ride the wave, and AI is kind of that next wave, and it seems to be a much bigger wave and maybe a faster moving wave, but it's a transformative wave, just like other things have been, and those people who figure out how to ride it, the ones who are
That's
going to be
right.
surviving in the end, right? So, and I think that back being pretty much wraps up the time that we have for our conversation today. Unless you have any final words.
No, that's great. This is fun. I could talk all day on
Awesome,
this.
yeah. And you and I tend to get into that cycle, so I'm trying to hold us firm to our commitment, right? So, Jonathan, thank you for joining me today and sharing your experience insights. It's always exciting to do.
I love it. This has been a blast, and I think what you're doing with this podcast is amazing. Keep going.
Well, thank you very much. And to our listeners, we hope you found this discussion enlightening. I would encourage you, if you have any questions around AI, reach out to Jonathan. You see him in the hallways, myself included. But as I say, Jonathan, Mary, that kind of environment would be something to engage with over a coffee. And so take the time to do that. Kind of goes into my tagline, right? Be curious, be innovative, but make sure you let AI empower your journey. All right. Thanks, everybody.